Hello everyone, my name is Anuj and I welcome you to Master Excel Now. In today's topic, we are going to see how to create dependent drop-down list. There are two different methods that we are going to explore today and see how you can achieve dependent drop-down list by using either of them. So let's get started. So the first approach is using an indirect formula. So how do you use an indirect formula is first on screen you would see that I have product categories. Then I have those categories listed here with some items stored here right below them. Now, indirect works when you are naming a selection or a range by a name. So here I will select electronics, clothing, and books, which is cell A2 all the way to cell A4. This is my primary drop-down list. All my selections will be based on what I select here. So I'm going to name it, let's say, product category, right? Once I've done that, I will just hit enter and I have no spaces here. So if I want to add something as a space, I need to use an underscore. So right now I'm not using that. So I will just say product category and hit enter. In the next one, I have electronics, then I have clothing, and then I have books. So I will select my electronics, then name it electronics. Clothing, I'll select the range for clothing and name it clothing. And for books again, I'll do the same. Repeat my steps, select the range and name it books and hit enter. Now, first is the product category. This is my prime selection. So here, when I select my cell G2, click on data, go to data validation, click on list. When it says source, you need to select the product category from cell A2 all the way to A4. And see here it says product category because we named this range earlier. And click OK. So now if you go here, you have electronic, clothing, and books, right? Now, I want to be able to, when I click clothing, I should only get clothing options here. When I select books, I should only get books here. So now what do I do is, I select my cell H2, which is a dependent drop-down list based on what we select in cell G2, which is this. We go to data validation, from any value choose list. Here we are going to say equals to in direct bracket open, select the drop down area, which is cell G2. Now here at this point, I want the column to be locked, which is $G is good, but I don't need a $2 because that locks my cell and it doesn't matter where I copy it, it'll still refer to the same selection, right? I want the column to be locked, but not the cell. So I will delete the dollar ahead of 2 and close my bracket and hit enter. So now when I click here, I only get books. Let's try clothing. So this is one way of doing the dependent drop-down list. So we just tried the first method using indirect to create a dependent drop-down. The second method that we're going to use is offset. The rules remain the same primarily. So we'll have a primary drop-down, which is here. And whatever we select should show up accordingly here. So the options here will change on based on our selection in product category. So first step, we select our cell B2 and we create a validation list. Click on data validation under data, where it says any value choose list. In source, we're just going to select the headers here and they are all locked. That's how we want it and click OK. So we have everything here, electronic, clothing, and books. Now here, I'm going to type in a formula and check whether my selection or the formula works. And then we'll copy that formula to the data validation list. So let's try the formula here. Let's select, let's say, clothing. And now here we are going to type the formula offset. So we start by typing offset. And the moment you type it, it says returns a reference to a range that is in a given number of rows and columns from a given reference point. So what it does is it will find this information and share the information from here. And you can select how many information you want. One cell, you want one information, two, you need two columns, whatever you need, right? So first, let's try a single point. So what are we trying to search? Which is my reference point? This is my reference point, the starting point of my range, and I will lock it because this is going to remain constant. Then I'm going to start information from the next row, which is row 1. Remember, offset calculates from 0, 1, 2, 3. But we want information from 1. So since we've already selected 0 as a reference point, so 1 is my Samsung Galaxy or Levi's 501 or To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. So 1. Then how many columns? Now here we have column 1, 2, and 3, right? I wanted to check which one it is. Is it 1, 2, or 3? I don't know yet which one will I select. So to make it more dynamic, we are going to use a match bracket open. What are we looking for? We'll want this. Now, where do we want to look this up? We want to look up here, the headers. Then if it is found, it has to be an exact match. You can use a 0 for exact match or click here. Then we close the bracket. Now, as I said, it starts with a 0. However, I need 1, 2, and 3. So to move it up 1, we will say -1 here. Then we want to start from the next row, which is 1. And then we want only one value. So we close the bracket and hit enter. So if I choose clothing, it shows me the first value under clothing, which is Levi's 501. Let's choose electronics. It gives me this. So far it is perfect and it will give me the information. So I will copy this from here, click here on product name and choose the cell C2. Click on data validation. Where it says any value, choose list. Click on source and click, paste my formula that I just copied and click OK. So it shows me one value, right? So if I change from clothing, it still gives me the value. So far, so good. However, now I need all of them. So how many pieces of information can I get? So let's go back to our formula. I select my cell, click on data validation. Where it says 1, right? I can say 20, 50, 500. Let's see what happens. So let's say, sorry, go back. And where it says 1, let's say 18 and click OK. So now you see all the information is here. When I click on clothing, all the information is here, right? But you also have empty cells. See, when you go to electronics, again, since I used more than what I had in my list I had 11. However, when I check my formula, I said 18. So it still has more, so it will give me 7 blank spaces. I only need the list. So I need 11 here, 4 here automatically, and 7 here. So we are going to make a certain change in the formula. So this is working. We'll keep it here. Let's try another one. So when we have to calculate text, when we have to count, we use count A, brackets open, and we select the range and hit enter. So it tells me 11, right? Now we're going to use the same thing, count A, brackets open, and then we're going to use offset because I want to calculate all the values based on my selection. When I select electronics, it will give me 11. When I select clothing, it will give me 4. When I select books, it will give me 7. So I'm going to use offset. Again, offset needs a starting point or a reference point. So we choose this and lock because that's going to be our constant reference point. Okay. Then we want it to start from the next row, then a comma. And I want it to be an exact match. So we'll say match. What are we looking for in a match? We're looking for this value. So I'm going to lock this. Now here I'm not locking the entire cell. I'm just locking the column because I'm going to drag this all the way down. Okay. Comma. Then my lookup array. So lookup array is this information, and I'm going to lock this completely. Then I'll say 0 for an exact match, close my bracket because it starts with the next one. So I'm going to say -1 here. Now this time, even if I keep it at 100, it will not show blank row because it's going to count how many are there. So I can keep it 100 or I can keep it 50. It really doesn't matter much. And we close our brackets and hit enter. Right? So the entire formula is here. So let me check. If I select clothing, it will show 4. For books, it will show 7. So my formula is working. Now I'm going to copy this just before the equal to sign, copy it. Then we select our cell C2 where I have the data validation list. And where it says 18 right here, I'm going to delete this and paste my formula carefully and click OK. Now, when I click on books, it only shows me the value. There is no blank spaces, right? If I click on clothing, only 4, no blank spaces. If I select electronics, till iPhones, which is the last value, and no blank spaces. So these are the two distinct methods. One is an indirect, the other one is offset, which you can use for creating dependent dropdowns. I hope you like the content. Please do like, share, and subscribe our channel. Thank you. Have a nice day.